Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation today because my sister from another mister who I met as part of a mentoring program is going to be on. So expect expert sarcasm today as part of our program. But before we get started, I want to remind you, go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz. Find out if you're really ready to publish. I know a lot of you guys, you were in lockdown over COVID and you wrote books, but guess what? You forgot the audience. Who are you going to sell that book to? And we're going to have a little conversation about that today, about if you build it, they will come. Not really. So go over, take the quiz, find out if you're really ready to integrate that book into your business and if you're ready to publish to crickets or publish and sell stuff. So also go over and subscribe to us on YouTube, Super Brand Publishing. Everybody, if you're listening on podcast, everybody who's on here, there are videos over on YouTube and you can see these people in real life. And you can see that Jennifer and I today have almost the same background. So anyway, my guest today is Jennifer Tamborski, and she is a digital marketing strategist and CEO for the Virtual Marketing Experts, which you guys probably know, the Virtual Marketing Experts. I believe that's Kathy's group. Is that who you're the CEO for?
No. Virtual
okay.
Marketing Experts is my business. Virtual assistant training or virtual expert training is Kathy's.
There you go. So you guys probably saw Kathy's a couple weeks ago. Jennifer also works with Kathy on getting some really great marketing out there. Jennifer loves teaching business owners the skills and strategies they need to create, build, and grow profitable online businesses. Jennifer and her team of experts work with 6 and 7 figures coaches, consultants, and online creators to grow their businesses, remove marketing overwhelm, and increase their revenue and scale their impact. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me, Juliet. I love the fact that you called us, sisters from another mister, because that was one of the things when you came into Kathy's group to do presentation. I was like, totally just right down the middle. Everything you said, I was like, yes, that.
Yes, because you guys, if you've ever worked with me, and I know a lot of you haven't, I am just no BS. Like, quit listening to the noise out there. Quit listening to the people who are telling you how to do things that they've never done, they've never achieved. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. I was on the last program with Kathy, and Jennifer mentioned something about online programs, and I was like, the cash machine. Yes, let's talk about that. So for those of you who are coming in and creating courses and you're like, I want the cash machine, here's the deal. You need to find Bigfoot or maybe the Loch Ness Monster. I think it's in a locket around their neck. And if you can find it, good for you. You found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So Jennifer, let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the biggest, I think, misconceptions when it comes to creating courses or even a coaching program, right? People have this, I term it, the field of dreams. If they build it, they will come. And I mean, I'm not Kevin Costner, and I seriously doubt you are either, which means that just because you build something doesn't mean that anybody's going to buy it. You have to have that marketing in place, that audience in place in order to get purchases. So it's a fallacy. And those $1 million gurus out there, the ones that you see on Facebook, I know you've seen them standing in front of their jet that they rented for like 30 seconds, or the Porsche that they've rented for like 30 seconds, that say, I'm going to give you my $1 million strategy. This is what I did to do that. And I'm not discounting. They may very well have made $1 million. But what they neglect is the 1.5 to 5 years to 10 years to 20 years, depending on who it is, that they were building an audience before they made $1 million.
Yeah, I call that see my beautiful house, see my beautiful car, see my beautiful wife, and none of it's real. So yes, I just stole the Talking Heads lyrics, but that's what it is. They do. They rent the Lamborghini for about 5 minutes. The mansion belongs to somebody else, and who knows about the wife? I mean, it might be just some hooker they found on a street corner who, wasn't on meth that day. They cleaned her up and propped her up. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think it's their beautiful wife either.
And here's the reality. Those things might all be there. They might own them all. And what they're selling you doesn't actually exist. Taking somebody else's marketing plan and implementing it in your business, that's not going to be effective because your business isn't their business. Your audience isn't their audience.
That is so true. So one of the things that happens with books a lot is when people write a book without building an audience, they'll bring it to me and I'll say, who's your audience? Well, it's Jack Canfield's audience. No, Jack Canfield's audience is his audience. And they somehow think that he has built this overnight, not knowing that, he shopped that, he built a marketing machine. It took a long time to build that. That's exactly what you're talking about here. So I'm spitting all over myself on video. This is really attractive. Welcome to my show. So what do people do when they create these courses? So a lot of times they haven't run betas. They bring them to you and they just say, this is it.
Yeah.
Launch it. What do you do?
Yeah. We were talking about this a little while ago, but I had a client that came in recently that they had a course. They'd never built a course. They didn't beta test the course. They don't have an audience. They have a handful of people they coach. And they want to move out of one-on-one coaching and do courses. Awesome. Fantastic. And so they launched the course by running ads for 2 weeks. Sometimes you get those clients that no matter what you tell them, they're not going to listen, yes. Right? So we launched the course. We run ads for 2 weeks. They didn't get anybody to show up for the webinar. So they didn't record the webinar, which means that follow-up sequence where you send out the replay of the webinar didn't go out because you don't have a replay to send out. So that didn't go out. So then they come back and complain that they didn't sell anything. Well, you didn't actually market, right? 2 weeks is not actually marketing. You don't have an audience. You haven't built an audience yet. You haven't generated. And your first webinar, you may not sell anything. Yeah. On that first one. You might. There are people out there that absolutely do. They get on a webinar and they're awesome and people love them and they want to buy their thing. And it's whether or not you have the money to invest, right? Because marketing is 2 things, time or money. You get to choose what you want to do. If you don't have the money, you have to invest the time it takes to grow the audience, to scale the ads, to do all of those things. If you have the money, it takes less time because you can pour money into it. Mm-hmm. Most people who are looking for that cash machine, they don't have the money.
That is very true. That is very, very true. And I remember back when I did, well, I don't invest in that kind of thing anymore, but when I did put the money into it, it wasn't that effective. I wasn't getting the ROI that I was looking for. And primarily it was because I hired a coach who said, here are the courses and here's the funnel. But she didn't talk about the audience building. She didn't talk about, that you needed to get all of this out and be working on it for a long time. So I actually found that I sold more courses with speaking than I did with anything else because people got to talk to me about it. Yeah. So let's talk about that ad spin for a minute. You and I were talking about this before we jumped on. I've had 2 big influencers in my world lately tell me that they ran the whole webinar. Some of them did it with an automatic webinar. Some of them did it with it, and the ads didn't work. People aren't clicking anymore.
Well, and that's absolutely, it can be accurate, and without knowing how their ads were run or who their ads were run to or what their ads said, because reality is your ads get clicked on if you have the right message in them. People are going to click on your ads. Now, when they land to your landing page, are they going to convert? I don't know. It depends on what your landing page says. When they get to your webinar, are they going to convert? I don't know. It depends on what you say in your webinar. Like, there are steps. Facebook specifically has gotten more expensive. Yes. And There's a whole lot of back end things that are happening in the ad world itself because of Apple's iOS update that they haven't released yet, but they're still threatening to, that is going to make tracking ads more difficult, like understanding where that data is coming from and that kind of stuff. And it's going to make all applications across the board time to pivot, time to look at what your ads are doing, how they're working, and what you can do to work around that new update. That being said, everybody is on Facebook and they're getting exhausted of Facebook, so they're hopping off to other platforms. So now is a really good time to look at those other platforms that your audience may experience. One of my clients, her ideal audience hangs out in Pinterest a lot. I'm like, let's start running ads over there.
Right.
Happens. I mean, it's the same amount of money you're spending, but if you get better results at a different platform, now's the time to start looking at all those platforms. Everybody has ads available. Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google Ads, Snapchat. Unless your audience is under 25, don't worry about Snapchat yet.
Right.
That being said, in another 5 years, those 25-year-olds will be 30 and they'll still be on Snapchat. So it's definitely something to look into. But TikTok, all of those applications, they all have ads. Mm-hmm. Running ads is effective if done right. And that's the question. And without being able to look at those influencers' back ends, I can't know what they did to know whether or not they were effective.
Yeah. And both of them have repeatedly run ads, but they switched companies just because they didn't have the kind of show rate they've had in the past. And I think people are really getting exhausted, not only from, I'm not even on Facebook anymore. I'm done with it. And it's actually funny. I want to share with you guys. So I took a lesson at Golf Tech a couple weeks ago. And Golf Tech has this thing called, their app is called the Clubhouse, the Golf Tech Clubhouse. Oh. And I keep getting Clubhouse, and I'm really happy now that I'm not on social media. So the guy says, here, give me your phone. I'm going to download I'm going to put you in the Clubhouse. And I'm like, I don't want to be in the Clubhouse. And he's like, why not? And I'm like, I'm really happy without social media. And he's like, ma'am, this is where we put your lessons. And I was sitting there just having a fit about, I'm not going in the Clubhouse.
I mean, it's hysterical because Clubhouse isn't the newest, latest, greatest social media. Here's the reality with social media. It can be a rabbit hole if you're doing it, right? Like if you're going down that rabbit hole, you're in charge of your social media. It can definitely be a rabbit hole. Clubhouse is working for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And not everybody can access it. So unless all of your audience is on iOS, is Apple users, all of those people are not accessing whatever it is you're putting out on Clubhouse.
Right.
Because they're only Apple. Now, the funny thing is all of the other social media platforms, Slack isn't technically a social media platform, but they're taking this on too. Slack and Facebook and I think Twitter, they're all looking to open up their own version of Clubhouse. And because they're bigger monsters, they're going to go on Android immediately, right? Because they have the wherewithal to do that. Mm-hmm. Where Clubhouse is growing on Apple slowly so that they can sustain their growth. These other bigger companies, they'll be able to launch their competing app and be on Android immediately, which means all of those Android users are going to bounce over there.
Interesting. And I know a lot of people are jumping from YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, but we've been looking into Rumble as well, because there's a big crowd that's moved over there, and they talk about they're getting more views there. So we're kind of looking at how does that work? Why are they getting more views? Probably the algorithms, because
it's absolutely the algorithm.
Everything is algorithm driven these days.
The younger the social media platform, the easier the organic traffic is going to be. The older they are, the bigger they are, the more it's pay to play. And in order to get your YouTube channel up, higher, or get, your Facebook page up, or even Twitter, all of them are pay to play. They're really about getting your money out of your pocket in order to do that.
Well, yeah, exactly. So let's go back to the courses for a minute. Course creation are things that are $27 selling right now.
Yeah, low ticket micro offers are selling really well right now, and have been for the past year. People getting in the doors, buying those micro offers. They are selling because of the economy, right? The way the
Mhm.
economy has been the last year, people had more time. They are selling. Even the big ticket offers. I have clients that are selling three, four, $5,000 online programs. They're all selling. It's a matter of who your audience is and whether or not they're tired.
Yeah, right. So let me define tired for you guys. I'm giving a talk on Friday about the difference between JV partners and power partners. And I see so many people moving back to the power partner model because the JV affiliate partnership model is exhausting. That's one of those things where people are learning that a click is not a relationship, list building isn't working, people aren't showing up for the webinars. What's your thought on that?
So I think webinars are definitely not working. I think email lists still work. And I think you just get to find a different medium to get them in there. I know quizzes work well. I know there's, other abilities, lead magnets that you can use to get people in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the reality. Email marketing is always going to work. It's always going to work. It may take more effort for a short period of time, but it's always going to work because people are when you get them off of social media, you have more control about what you're saying to them,
Yes.
how you're saying it to them, how you're interacting with them. So it's very important still.
Yeah. And you guys, that's so true. Think about it for a minute. Your list you own. Nobody's taking your list away. Social media, I think we've all seen in the last year. If you say the wrong thing or you look the wrong way, you're going to be deleted, which means you're going to lose an entire audience. So don't become reliant just upon that. But when we talk about the lists, I think we need more segmentation now than we did before because we really have to start spending time with those people who are opening, who are committed, just really micromanaging that list a little better and making offers to the people who are opening all the time and kind of just giving content and blowing off those other people. What do you think about that?
I totally agree with that. And I will also say I go into my list probably quarterly and clean it.
Oh, I
That's
do
something
too.
that people forget about often is cleaning the list. If someone hasn't opened an email that I've sent in the last 3 months to a year, what difference does it make if they're on my list?
Exactly.
So, and I know people are like, oh my God, I have a list of, I don't know, 40,000 people. And if I do that, like I'll go to half. What difference does it make, right? Like you have 40,000 people that you're paying a CRM to host for you,
Mm-hmm.
and only half of them are interacting with you. Why do you want the other half?
It's not only that. So, one of the strategies with getting a bestseller, like if you're really trying to get to a USA, Wall Street Journal type bestseller list, is you better have a solid list that's opening and know where they read. One of my friends who is a consistent USA Today and just became a New York Times bestseller a couple months ago, if you haven't opened in 30 days, she sends out a thing saying, we're deleting you, and she keeps that. She has a list of 20 to 25,000, but squeaky clean, high open rate, and she needs that to get those books up
Yeah.
where they need to be. And she tells people, she's very transparent, this is why I do it, and get off or
Yeah.
I will get you off.
I've actually said that. I had that discussion with a client because I wanted to nurture her email list. She hadn't nurtured her email list in years, and I'm like,
Right.
have this list. Like, you have buyers on here. Let's get them to that point. And so I gave her. She's like, if I send out that many emails, people will unenroll. And I'm like,
So
no. That means they're not interested in your stuff. Why do you want to keep them? That's really the point. When your list is really clean, you have your buyers on there.
yeah.
You have the people. And why are you giving your best to people who don't care, who aren't
Well,
interested?
Yeah, but not only that, I think that's where I'm mentioning the Talk Friday, the JV model.
Yeah.
Let's build your list. Now you've got a list of 10,000 people who got in, yay, but none of them are interested. None of them are opening. They're kind of list holders. And I think that's one downside of this whole big JV model is, I go to you and say, hey, Jennifer, will you help promote my latest thing? And how big is your list? That used to be the thing for the longest time, is how big is your list, which y'all know what I'm equating that with. But it's 10,000, but nobody mentioned, oh yeah, only about 1,000 of those people actually open.
Yep.
When people ask me now, I'll say, oh, I think my list is like 800 people, but I have a very high open rate. So
Yep.
I'll just say, take it or leave it. And by the way, I don't promote other people much because I get paid to promote my best sellers. So I spend my time doing that instead of promoting JVs these days. But I think that is part of the problem is we got into that with joint ventures and,
Absolutely. Well, and not just joint ventures, but those free giveaways or being on summits or all of those kind of things where people want speakers. They want quality speakers, which is awesome. And they can be a quality speaker without having a massive list.
yes.
So what you're saying is you don't really want a quality speaker. You want access to their email list. And that's a different thing.
Yes.
Right? So when someone correlates me speaking or presenting to the size of my email list, I know what they're asking for. They're not really asking for me to present on a topic. They want access to my list, which is a whole different thing.
You guys, she just told you the truth. Like that is absolutely. And I don't actually participate in many of those anymore. With the Power Partner strategy, I'm like 95% referral now because I have that other strategy. So you guys just really have to be intentional about which way you're going to go and how you're going to do this with all of it. So do you have anything you'd like to give us today? I forgot to ask you in advance. Do you have a free gift or?
I actually do have a free gift. And because we're on Juliet's show, which is all about quizzes, we'll go with that.
Oh,
I have a quiz on profitable scaling, right? When you're ready to scale your business to 5, 6, and 7 figures. And those 5 elements that are required in order to hit those numbers. So it's virtualmarketingexpert.com/PS quiz. And that is my profitable scaling quiz. It's will help you to define whether or not you have the 5 elements in place to scale your business to 5, 6, and 7 figures.
nice. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for your honesty today. You guys got that about the list, right? We kind of went all over the place here.
That's the awesome part, right? Of our conversations.
Yes, it just goes everywhere. Thank you so much, Jennifer.